Welcome back to Crosstalk. We are looking at gambling addiction, the silent killer. We've listened to stories of victims who are successfully walking out of it and they are transforming their lives. We've listened to the industry players and the policies that they're putting in place to make sure that this industry is well regulated. And right now, joining me on set is Boniface Nyoike. He speaks about men with passion and is part of this discussion just to tell us why quick money for men pushes us to more of a self-gratification that we have power and wealth. So he'll speak to that, but also with him is Mr. Joel Kiragu. He's a counseling psychologist. But before we get to them, I have Peter Karanja. Can God reward our crafty ways of looking for quick money?
Thank you, and that's an interesting perspective because at the bottom line is everyone is looking to empower themselves financially. And so gaming and betting has seemingly a promise of getting the money that I need to solve an immediate need or a long-term need. So now the misunderstanding is, how does God empower us financially? Does he go by luck? Is it that you hit the jackpot and that's an answer to prayer? And if that is the case, then every one of us should hit the jackpot because God is rich towards all. He doesn't have favorites. But what is the principle? So I feel as the church or as the people who are holding society, the morality, we need to speak into financial literacy so that apart from the issue of banning and stopping, that is the end game, the mindset that is driving the young person to go and look for that money through betting is what needs to be addressed. Mm-hmm. And I feel that is not being addressed. So when betting comes and offers a quick gain, I now bring in my spirituality and think, probably this is the answer to my faithfulness to God. But remember, you can't twist God to follow your channels. You've got to go back to the principle, the Garden of Eden. He said, I give you a garden. Dress it, cultivate it, keep it, protect it. So God is a principled God. And as far as we are concerned, that area of gaming doesn't seem to follow the garden principle.
All right, Mr. Boniface. Why is it that the majority of people between the age of 18 and 34 look for money, easy money, as a shortcut to power and wealth?
Well, thank you for that question and thank you for having me. One of the deepest seated human needs is the need for significance. And significance is wanting to feel like I matter, I count, I'm recognized. And we have a society that is captured in such a way that the more material things you have, the more legitimacy you feel you're getting from the approval of others. And so that bankruptcy of significance, which by the way is not fundamentally filled materially, it's filled spiritually, is what drives people to want to get a quick way so that they can feel validated, they can feel important, and they can feel significant. Now, having said that, I think it is also important to understand that a lot of young people have grown up with an identity deficit. And what does society use to make you feel like you are a person of importance? They use material things. And so for you, now you begin feeling the pressure of, I can accelerate my journey to resources without having to wait or go through the rigors that are required to go through so that I can acquire that money. So it is both a battle of identity and a search for significance. And when you begin to look for significance in the wrong place, it becomes very easy to be pulled in by the bait of addiction, and not just financial addictions like gambling, but many other addictions as well.
Mr. Joel, you've listened to the stories that have been shared here, both from Miriam and Steve, but also from the regulators themselves. What would you say are the predisposing factors that makes young people get into gambling?
Thank you, John Paul, first for having me here. One thing I would like to say that the predisposing factor of the young people to get into gambling,
you can just move your mic slightly,
is the need for quick money. Quick money. We know that before you get to harvest something, you must plant, then weed, harvest, store, and then you can either sell it or you can consume it yourself. But now the youth, the young people that we are having today, they want just to harvest. And that put them into an awkward position for wanting that money, that bulk, more than what they need to do to get it. It is quick money. There is something called dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone, releases some hormone in every other person. We call it a rewarding system. It is a rewarding system in the sense that after you win the first bet, there is a tendency of you going on, and euphoria in you is created or triggered, and so you want to go on because now you are happy that you have won. So you go, you find that there is that need of going on. If you go to those gambling sites and the like, even in our media, they tell you that put this money and you will win. They will never tell you that you might win. They always tell you that you will underline those two words, will and might. So you go, you just feel that I have been promised that I will win, and so they go on winning. And there is this what we call impulsivity. In it says that you just go on, and you don't reason well. You don't reason well because of what you have focused on, and that is a win. You don't even think of losing. It is winning. And that's why many of the people, even after they have lost the first bet, they feel that I will win. I have been told that I will win, without knowing that they have not been told that they might lose.
All right. Were these businesses formed to make us rich or to make the founders rich?
That's an interesting question. I went last year to speak in an event somewhere in Nyoike, and I happened to meet one of the guys that works in the ICT section of one of the betting companies. And he told me something very interesting that I think is worth mentioning on this show. It's amazing how people can be sold an illusion and they buy it. Because if it was true that gambling can make people rich, then the staff that work in those gambling companies would be billionaires. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And that goes on to tell you that, and I like what the perspective is brought in, the perspective of selling people an illusion that produces dopamine in their minds. So it produces a false win that stirs you up so much emotionally, you always see the side of winning, but you don't see the possibility of what could go wrong. And the thing about the reward system that is created in our brain through dopamine is that it should come after you invest labor, then now when you get a result is when the dopamine should be produced. But this one now perverts that approach of the way God created the brain to function. So your brain now goes on overdrive producing dopamine. And that's how now sinking into that addiction becomes a very accelerated journey. So it's an illusion that people are being sold to. And if it was true that gambling would make people rich, the top 10 billionaires would be masters in gambling. Unfortunately, they are not. In life, you must contribute and produce for you to be rewarded financially, and not the other way around.
Mr. Joel, somebody that is in gambling, how can they start to walk away from it?
When you get hooked to any addiction, coming out, you need someone to hold your hand, because many a times they never see the vices in what they are doing or what is happening. They only believe that something good will happen to me after this. And therefore, they are forced to continue. Tomorrow will be better than today. However, there is hope. There is hope. If one lives without hope, he or she becomes hopeless.
Yes.
Hopeless. That means you don't have any hope, or your hope is diminished. Therefore, he or she needs someone to hold his or her hand. So the best word is, there is hope.
Thank you. Do you feel like the media and the government and the society in general has failed this generation?
I would say yes and no. And I would say yes because, again, the narrative that has been spewed out there, if you look at even the timing when these betting adverts are brought, there is sort of like a mass saturation of that kind of information. And it seems like it is repeated so many times that people end up believing it. But I would also say no, because life is a journey of personal responsibility. There may be a lot going on in terms of gambling, but you can make personal decisions and say, I am going to choose a different path. And I think this different path begins with, and I feel like one of the things that has really contributed to the gambling culture is a sense of purposelessness. So I feel like one of the things that needs to be brought back is conversations about purpose. What do you exist? Do you just exist to go on your phone and get on an app and try to predict which team will win? Or is there a higher reason why you are created to live on this earth? I feel like the bigger conversation about the perverted script we see is a reinstallation of purpose. For our young people to be reminded that there is a better way to live life. There is a reason why you exist. And when you discover that reason, when you have a bigger why, it becomes easier to say no to the pull of seduction that is all around on media, on social media, everywhere in the places we work. So it begins with that, beginning to discover your sense of purpose and aligning your life in that direction.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe to Steve, because we've listened to your story, but there's a point where you decided, now I have to come out. What was that turnaround in your life?
For someone to change must start within someone. Like, you must just say that, no, hii kitu nimekubali imenilemea, na mimi acha tu niachie hapo hivyo.
Right now, in terms of being free from betting, what's the period like?
Right now, it's 1 year.
1 year.
Free from gambling. And there's a lot of changes that are happening right now. We've done a bill to Parliament, and we are really asking them that we cannot have a country that almost 80% of the youths are living or are depending on gambling. We can never. We need to build a future, and this future starts now.
Pass the mic to Miriam. Miriam, of course, you've shared your story, the impact it had in your business and to your family as well. So at what point did you have a turnaround, and how is your life now?
When I realized that I escaped so many death traps, I sat down and I asked myself so many questions. Miriam, you was to die on January. Now you are alive. You have to make a step. You have to make your own decision. So I had to make my own decision. That if I choose the life of struggling, or I have to choose a life of living and focusing forward.
And your relationship now with your siblings, how is that now?
What I can say, I don't have any relationship with my family members because I have caused a lot. I'm all alone. Let me be sure. I'm all alone. I made a mistake. It is a couple of 3 months. I stopped betting. The time I realized I'll die. Even if I see someone winning, even billions of money, I will still say no to gambling. It has really cost my life. Maybe a good Samaritan will come for me. I lost my family. I came and started a future all alone. I cannot go and see my own child because I have a lot of debts there. All I can say, I've learned from my mistake. Right now, I'm depending on friends, not even family members. Remember, I was the one helping them. You cannot even get a call from my own family members because they have realized that I'm not helping them. I have nothing. It's so painful to me. Yeah. But I believe I'll make it.
You've already made it. Just coming out of it in itself is a step enough. And I think it's a good point to just encourage you that you've already made it. How can we rebuild a social relationship that is stronger enough for instance, for someone like Miriam?
Yeah. First of all, I want to tell Miriam that she has a great future. All is not lost. You can begin rebuilding your relationships again. And how do you begin rebuilding relationships? Number one, by showing responsibility to your tomorrow, because we cannot take responsibility to fix our yesterday, because that is gone, that is water under the bridge. But we can take a pen and begin rewrite the story of the future that we want to see. So begin putting yourself in spaces where you can grow, where you can learn more about yourself and what you can do with your life, and you will realize all is not lost. God never leaves you without people that can love you and help you to move out of where you are. So I want to encourage our sister that all is not lost. She can begin recreating her future. She can begin rebuilding a culture of responsibility that will help her to begin earning trust one day at a time. And anyone that has been through that kind of cycle can begin. And here is the thing. You may not always recover everything you lost in your past, but you can invest and get new things in your future. New relationships, new opportunities, and new possibilities.
Maybe a question to our panel?
My question goes to Boniface. As we are advocating that people should abstain from betting, what else are we providing as a solution?
Allow me to say this, and I think this is a conversation that every young person needs to hear. There is no single day the government will build an ecosystem that can employ everyone. That's a reality number one we must face. Now, what options are there beyond you looking for employment? There are two things that happen, and I want to quote a famous author called Miles Monroe. He said, if you cannot find employment, you can find a way to deploy yourself. What does that mean? Every person that comes into this world comes loaded with potential, like he's rightly said, and there is always something that you can do. Now, one of the challenges that I find, especially, and I do a lot of youth programs for empowerment, one of the biggest challenges that I find is that a lot of young people want to choose where to start. Now, in life, you don't choose whether to start, but the option of where to start is not usually within your reach. And I usually tell people, be willing to start small. If you're too big to start small, you are too small to ever become big. Because life is created in such a way that the only thing that starts on the top is a grave and a toilet, right? Every other thing you've got to begin chini. And part of, again, our challenge as a generation, as a people, is that we must not become entitled and say, I cannot do this, I must be given this. We must say, whatever options are available at my level, I am willing to start there. But we cannot live blaming our environment. We must get to a place where we decide we must do something to change it.
Thank you. Your question?
People will run into betting, not just for the money, but you find that they are going through a lot maybe for them. But I'm asking, because since we have psychologists here, basically for people who know how to deal with that, then how do we approach it in that angle? Like basically, for these people who are looking at it as a way of running away from this trouble and everything.
You have a comment? First from a ladies, I think it's worth to take it, yes.
Okay, my name is Eunice Mora, and I'm from Waziri Organization. I normally feel like this generation of ours, we have a lot. Because we are lazy, we don't want to work hard. And reason being, I do walk always to streets with Waziri. We do talk with our fellow addicts. When we try to talk to them, mostly they want something which is immediately. So if you talk to somebody, I want you to stop this thing, and you try to do something. So he will ask you, if you teach me, will you pay me? There are many youths outside here, jobless, millions and millions. Others, they are fathers, but they don't know even they are father to who. Others, they are mothers, they don't know if they belong to be a mother or a child or what. So we are mixed up generation. To this addict of gambling, I see it's something which is purposely. People gamble because of they have a lot of time wasting outside here because they don't have anything to do. Another thing, they want money to do something. Somebody can come and gamble with 100 bob or 20 bob to get 100, so that she or he can go to buy either food or buy anything. So mentally, anajua this money, I want quick money. I don't want to work hard or to go to mjengo so that I can be paid on Saturday. I want something which is quick. So we are young, we want to make something, but we don't have that support. Yeah.
All right. We'll speak to it as our closing thoughts, because we have to bring this to an end. But ideally, there is a lot that we can talk about. Issues of identity. How can a young person be resourceful? But maybe give it to Mr. Joel. Mr. Joel from the Digital Broadcasters Association. Now that you've gotten the perspective of both sides, what will be your closing remarks at least?
For the team here, I want to commend them. Just being able to come out, identify I had this problem, I've been able to overcome, and I want my story to go out. That's where media comes in. Because as you amplify these voices, you don't know who else who may not have to go through what you went through, and they may be less cued fast by being able to see and learning from your mistake and not having to make the same mistakes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Maybe you are closing thoughts to this, Mr. Nyoike.
Yeah, I feel like our young people are coming to a place of what is called learned helplessness, where it is not that your environment has crippled you, but you have had a narrative for so long that you've come to a place of believing that there is nothing you can do to move your life forward. Everything you need to move your life forward is with a person that you need to start a relationship with. Unfortunately, again, a culture I see with a lot of our young people, a lot of our relationships are virtual. We don't have relationship skills of approaching people that could accessorize us with the things we need for the next level. And if you don't know how to build relationships, you're going to be stuck for a very long time. So if you can start there, you can build a future that you'll be proud of 10 years down the line.
Mr. Joel, your closing remarks?
What I would like to tell you, especially you young people, there are so many stories, books which have been written. And unless you turn the page, you first close the first chapter, you will never know what the second chapter holds for you. I'm still repeating, there is hope.
Thank you so much. Let's give it to our panel. Thank you so much, Mr. Joel, for your insights on Crosstalk. Thank you so much, Mr. Boniface, for your insights. Thank you so much, and I think it's high time just to appreciate you for coming out to share your stories. As Mr. Joel has said, there's always a part 2. And I think this is one of those conversations that would form a part 2. And thank you so much for tuning in on Crosstalk. It's amazing that we had an opportunity to have this conversation, an extended conversation, but worth it. Until next time, bye-bye for now.